Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Hey team, how we going? It is Kaz from In the Trenches, but I tell you, I've been out of the trench for the last 2 days. I haven't touched the ground. So for anyone that is that hasn't been talking to me on the bat phone, which wouldn't be many because I've been on calls from the moment the day starts to it ends, it's been a bit of a swell, but it's been fantastic. And tonight we're going to be talking about an interesting subject, which is about tips, advice, etc. Not just for Army enlistment, for OSB. And this is in direct reaction to some of the questions and maybe some of the grey areas that have come up from the fantastic people of our actual channel. And I tell you what, the reason why I say you need help is because some people have come on here and it is like they are flat-footed. You know, and it just scares me what would have happened if they'd made it to U session, assessment sessions, psychological sessions, and not actually had me there to help them out to answer the questions about the drugs that killed River Phoenix, which has got nothing to do with what we're about to talk about. And because I'm sort of shocked by putting up this late-minute video, you may not have even had the opportunity to get yourself ready to sit down, or maybe you're going to watch a Panthers game. Don't know, but we'll see. Let's go back to where all the Army started after we say hello to, who is shining?
I am.
Lauren is shining.
It's me. I'm big.
She's big. Hey there, we've got Stevie Webb there. We've got Ollie Dialio, which is my favourite pastor, evening. We've got Joel, she's only a woman to me. We've got Lauren on the phone as well as in the comments. We've got our members starting to rock in. Aussie Wonder, great to see you there in your soldier's uniform, travelling soldier. Don't make it back for Nam if you haven't heard from the song. The little girl with the bow in her hair, she'll mourn your loss. We've got Mr. Patterson, who must be getting very close to bedtime. Good to have you here, mate. Good to have you here. I hope you've had your Becks and you'll be able to sleep properly tonight. Let everyone coming in.
Hey, Drunk Aussie's here.
Drunk Aussie, I wish I was. I'm getting pretty damn boring at the moment. But I do have the van. It is outside. This weekend I should be getting some good video to be able to make the initial video as we wet our feet on new topics for the channel. I'm no longer a fake imposter by wearing a van shirt before I had a van.
You're not even. How was your April Fool's Day? Did you get pranked?
I did get pranked. A lot of people got pranked. First regular Army team. Okay, the Romans. Today I got pranked. I got sent a video, not a video, a meme that looked legitimate, and it was saying that the BFA has now been cancelled from all militaries and is going to be replaced with an education course on nutrition and fitness. I absolutely lost my shit.
Who did that?
That was sent to me by the godfather of my daughter. I don't know if anyone else got it, but I tell you, I look like I'm in the Army again there. And I already had anger and a video laid out for what I was going to send you.
Oh my God. You know, April Fool's Day around here is practically another holiday like Christmas and Easter. It's such a big deal. And I got so many people today. I get up before them, you see. If you can get them while they're sleepy, they don't often remember it's April Fool's Day.
I baited your dog. April Fool's Day.
No, I have rules set up. I've had to set up rules. No man traps. No physical pranks.
Hey, g'day here, Mr. Finn. Shark fin soup.
Yeah, there's JP. I got him today.
We've got the sniper there.
A horse in the front yard.
What did you do?
I went and woke him up and said there was a horse in our front yard, and he jumped out of bed to go get it.
He would have ridden it, and I don't mean got on its back.
Yeah, he would have gone and got it. He's gotten cows out of the yard and everything, so I thought it's not that much of a stretch.
You didn't hear what I said.
I don't want to know.
Daniel, my brother. Elton John.
Yeah, there's some nice feedback from old mate Odin.
Okay.
It says, thanks for your videos, Kaz. I was in the ADF when I was 18, then left, but I'm looking at joining the Commandos in the next 5 years.
Well, you've got out and you've left, and you would have the mentality now that you know what you're talking about. You know this is for you. You know the hardships that await. I would definitely give you a stamp on that one and say turn up to a barrier test when you reckon that you are at the standard. And if you want to go, have a go. But maybe you do need to have gone back through, depending on how long you've been out for, the School of Infantry training again. We've got Leo Wanker, the stuntman.
Yeah, Leo's here. He's a good
He's always here.
Jessie Bray is here. Haven't seen you for a while, Jessie. How's the ladies going?
Yep, the little ones.
Yeah.
Senior Bray. We're here to talk to people today, and it's great to have some great advice from Odin, the god of war there. That's fantastic, mate, and I'll look forward to hearing how you go with that, because it would feel weird getting back in again. You know, will you have the mentality for the discipline? Let's see. Daz and the Water Buffaloes. Hope that's going well. We're going to hit things off first tonight. Vulcan. I can't even do the handshake from Star Trek, but I've got the ears for it. If you were in a battle like this one behind us, would you rather get hit by the very first Carthaginian arrow in the neck and killed, or would you rather make it to the end and take your chances on the TAB? I am Spartacus. You know what I'm talking about. We're going to talk about something quickly. Well, not quickly. We're going to put a little bit of time into it. It might be about 15 minutes, actually. We're going to talk about the OSB officers first. Okay? So, if you want, guys, we can talk about diggers or we can talk about officers first. Let's go for thumbs up, or let's talk about diggers first, being general enlistment, or thumbs down will mean let's talk about the hierarchy, the failed politicians, the failed lawyers, and we'll talk about the executive branch who get commissioned and pretend to eat olives beside wine that they can't stand to stomach. So thumbs up for enlistment, thumbs down for the commissioned officers, and let's talk about those subjects. Daz has got 2 water buffaloes now, so he's going to need Crocodile Dundee to go over there and put him to sleep tonight.
Okay, we've got some thumbs up coming in from Mactosh and Inconspicuous Daddy. Both of us thumbs up figures, and so is Mornock Shotgun. And Im, Finn Gleason, Brown Key, Vulcan, Digger. It looks like it's the diggers first.
It looks like it's the diggers first, and there's a dingo in every pack.
Yep.
Yep, we've got the members on board there in green. Drunk Aussie, he says, yep, stick a thumb up, yeah. We haven't got Carl at the moment, he's about to go outfield. You know, so even at Kapooka at the moment, it's already getting cold.
Well, Jessie Gray is at Kapooka at the moment too. He's 1 week march out.
Fantastic. He's probably in the same bloody platoon as Carl.
I don't know. It's hard to keep track, isn't it? Hi, IQ.
IQ. Are you talking about your own or IQ neg?
IQ neg.
Yeah, nice one. I tell you what, there wasn't much IQ in the background. You know, when you were infantry under, what was his name? A famous Roman general. It taught the guys to go and fight against Hannibal's elephants. Scipio Africanus. Imagine saying, hey guys, we're going to get and do some training today. Oh, we've done our sword drills. No, today we're going to learn how to take down an elephant. Weighs as much as 110 men that have had too much to eat, and you're going to learn how to kill it with a spear. Yep, I think I've got COVID. I'm going to go to the Roman RAP. No, that doesn't come for another 2,000 years. You're going to fight the elephant. Okay. They did actually learn how to do it. And those that rode the elephants used to have a special weapon system for driving through the brain of the elephant if it lost control and went crazy. So they could kill their own mount.
Yep, we've got Horseboy is here.
Horsy's here. Howdy.
Yep, we've got Adam Leddy said it just snowed in Germany, which is random for this time of year. Oh yeah, it'd be spring, because it's autumn here now.
Call it climate change.
Yeah,
You know.
John Butler has put a thumbs down. He wants to hear about the officers.
We'll be talking about those in a minute, but you are outnumbered, Johnny boy. So let's talk about soldiers. Right, from the starters, one of the first barriers that we run into is people trying to go onto the accelerator too fast. People that are trying to go to the military, regular army, the calling, and it's Anzac Day this month, remember that one, and Capion Day. Also Cabello Day. But people are trying to get in at 16 and 17, even 18, which is exceptionally young compared to what it was 30 years ago, compared to what it was 50 years ago, etc. There's no rush, team. You need to do it the right way, and that is to finish what you're starting, finish what you're doing at the moment. Right? Treat the school, the subjects, because you will pass if you apply yourself. I wish someone had spoken to me this way. And treat that like something, although it sucks, it is a mission that has been set by your commanders and they want to see you successful there. And what that's going to do is give you more options when it comes to choices in the U session. But that's very important. The second one is look at yourself and think to yourself, not what the job role is, but the people that you wish to hang around. So if you're male or female and you go, okay, do I want to do this as a calling or do I want to wet my feet? Okay, do I have a parent parallel thing that I want to do in life as well? And what that might mean is, okay, I put that on the back burner and I'm going to do some 4 years at least in the military, which could end up ultimately being 40 years. And then from there, commit yourself to whatever the core is, but it should also be taken into account that you'll be around the same sort of people that do that role. Understanding that when you go for infantry, armoured corps, engineers, etc., you're looking at the more jock versions of guys. Don't go in there with a complex personality or go in there with a dismissing personality that thinks they have to accept me, because they won't.
Yes, excuse me, Mr. Caswell. Apparently the music is a little loud.
That damn music. I'll turn that down right away.
Yep.
Okay. It's because the battle has started.
It has. Good night, Mr. P.
He's off already.
Yep.
Good night, sir. I wish I could come down and get you a tuck you into bed, mate, but I'm not going to do that. Thank you for always being here, but mate, it's always a pleasure.
Indeed.
So once you've got that out the way, you need to decide, okay, I'm going to write down my pros and cons. Ask your friends, ask your family, what do they think about you joining? Because although they might give you a tainted, biased, not understanding the man that you can be, or if you're a female, the adult that you can be, or the man you can sex change and still get in these days, but they'll kick you out if you're a male with mental health. Go figure. But what you need to do is understand a little bit about yourself, because sometimes, especially now, we can be a little bit insular and feel like, no one's allowed to actually tell us the truth in case it could offend us.
You ask your loved ones, and even if they have a bias, you make sure you look at it objectively, because learning about your own weaknesses or even what other people perceive as your weaknesses, remember, they're just giving their opinion of who they see you as, so it's always a good thing to learn about your weak spots, because then you can strengthen them.
My weak spot is my a-hole, especially when it gets wet. Whenever I'm in the jungle and I get a wet anus, that is when I know that things can't get too much worse.
Oh my gosh, just one stream without us talking about your cornhole.
Coit, my Russell Coit. I wonder if anyone was ever hit full bullseye right in the a-hole, okay, with an arrow.
I imagine with all the arrows, the ratio, there would have to be at least several, okay?
Oh, you would say, mate, it was a good shot.
Come on. Moving right along.
I'm going to pull it out and you haven't even been wounded. You just accepted that foreign object. Anyway, so once you decide, okay, and that should not tell you don't join. What it should start to buffer is the sort of role you should go for, okay? Because not every role is for everyone, and you will be immersed in the weapons and the exciting stuff for a little while, but not for long if you don't go to a combat corps. And I bet they don't tell you that either. What you need to do is make sure you go and watch more than once my videos that I've made on the U session, the assessment session, okay, and that of the PFA. So you know that you need to exceed the specifications. You need to be able to answer critical questions. Things like, why do you want to join the army? Why haven't you joined the army yet if you're joining older? Okay, what makes you think that this is the role for you? How do we know that you're not wasting our time? You know, how long do you intend on joining for? What does your family think about it? Do you have a missus? Is there any history of depression? Do you have color perception problems? That means color blindness. Do you have flat feet? Do you have a bad back? Do you have a criminal record? If you ask all yourself these things, you know, it prevents you from feeling like you're actually trying to climb Everest in thongs. I'm making this up on the fly here. But if you watch those videos, what it'll do is stimulate questions. And if you have the questions and then you deliver me the questions, that makes it a lot easier for me to guide you, to mentor you, and to give you wargaming that will get you over the line, or tell you the truth when they can't tell you the truth at times, that you are not the joy they're looking for. You know, and that is a fair thing. They should put you out of your misery if they know they're never going to give you a role. Understand the difference between regular Army and Army Reserve. You shouldn't be going Army Reserve if you don't have a job, okay, and you don't have any reason not to, just because you're scared to commit to 4 years. You know, you shouldn't be joining Army Reserve as a career. It's not. You join the regular Army, and then when you get out, you go to Army Reserve. If you are actually in a trade, if you are in a executive branch of whatever, then it is fantastic for everyone. It's almost like national service to go and do your time in Army Reserve. And what that'll do is it'll give you some paid adventure, friendship, mateship, some green grass, a fantastic way of living life without having to pay for that adventure that will supplement perhaps a windowless, boring job in an office where no one is allowed to tell the truth, where everyone has to pretend they're not attracted to each other, you know, but everyone actually really does hate the boss. That happens in the military too, but
that can happen anywhere.
Yeah. And around these times, Lauren, that's when they should be actually contacting us.
Yep.
Okay, when you know the answers to these questions, now,
Exactly.
or when you have the list of questions,
Yep.
and then you go, you know what, it's time to ask Kaz what's going on.
And it doesn't even have to come down to whether you think Kaz will know the answer or Lauren will know the answer. We might know who does know the answer, even if we don't know it ourselves. We will tell you we don't know something, but we do have quite an interesting circle of friends amongst us. So
Yep.
we would probably know someone who did know.
Some of the highest ranks I still talk to now, you know.
Yep.
I got recommended for both Navy
Yep.
air crewmen.
Yep. That's
still
Daniel O'Connell. I got recommended for both Navy air crew. Still need to sit ISB.
Okay.
And command and combat engineers. Did you know many sappers? Gosh, even I know.
I know a lot of sappers, mate.
What was the day-to-day like?
Their day-to-day was similar to infantry, but they turned up, they had project management where they would know in advance the project they're working on every day, unless they were training for war, okay, in between activities as they ramp up between their troop, you know, and equivalent to their entire unit, etc., depending on the time of the year. We spoke about day-to-day for infantry the other day. You know, there's a lot less application towards weapons, etc., in engineers, because they have so much skilled positions.
Their work is diverse. Like, it can be from cleaning up after natural disasters to, gosh, what don't they do?
Well, the most impressive thing I've ever seen engineers make, other than the buildings and gun turrets, making forward operating bases, etc., was in East Timor when they actually diverted an entire river. They made a river flow a different direction.
See, it's amazing. It's amazing the things they do. You know, but it's not an easy job by any means.
It's too hard. That's why I didn't do it.
Exactly. And don't think they don't see stuff they don't want to see either.
Yeah. Mr. Tree. Hey, Kaz, do you reckon a copper is a good alternative to Army? They're in no way similar. Dad has worked with the ADF before and said they were full of themselves and the culture was crap. Is he talking about the police or the Army?
I think he's talking about the Army. And here's
I would say it's the opposite. I would say it's the cop.
Dad had bad experience doesn't mean that most of the people I've spoken to had an excellent experience.
Yep. Look, the police and the Army, they're not the same animal, mate. They really aren't. Police is not about mateship. Okay, Army is about mateship and adventure. Okay, we extend our role is beyond the borders of Australia, and if it's internally, then it's for um, emergency response, etc. All right. Normally, when you see people around each other for prolonged periods of time, whether it be military, whether it be police, etc., there's a really, pardon language, fucked up leadership model within the police force, which is all about seniority, which doesn't make sense.
Exactly, the community they have to build themselves because they're all in competition with each other. They're practically private contractors.
Yeah, they've taken the mateship out of the police force, which is sad. And they did it with the Fitzgerald inquiry and all those sort of things. New South Wales believe that they sold out on the other police with the pre-88ers, etc.
And don't get us wrong, we need corruption watchdogs. We need that. We need a system where it's hard to have corruption.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'll give an example of someone I won't name. Someone I knew very well had worked both Army Intelligence and AFP, and they didn't enjoy the Army, but they enjoyed the police, even because there was such a lack of, everybody was out for your position.
Yep, and I'd love to be a cop.
Yeah, it's such important work.
Yep, helping people in micro ways in every single day. If people say a policeman doesn't make a difference, that's not true, because they make differences to families every single day, and they drag people out of what could have been, basically a death sentence. And it happens all the time. I have utmost respect for the cops, but I've dealt with a lot of shit cops. I've dealt with a lot of Army Reserve / cops that get stuck in between and become the best version of both.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly right. Here's a question from Mason Thomas. He said, "G'day, Kaz."
2 first names.
Yeah.
You know what we think about people with 2 first names? Very confusing.
Been away the last couple of weeks, months, but did a practice PFA for Army this week.
Yep.
Found out that RAF have no push-up requirements, which I still can't believe.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised by it, because a lot of the RAF is the same as working for Jetstar.
Yeah, could a lot of it be privatised if we ever had to? That might be controversial, but it's just in my opinion.
Yes and no, because how much would you pay someone from the ADF to go and do their job, and work basically 365 days in a year with no days off?
Yeah, that's true.
In harm's way, and get spoken to the way we get spoken to, like a dictatorship at times, where you know that you are the cost of victory potentially. I'm not saying it ain't dangerous.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is they're a very different animal, a very different animal.
There's even different animals within those different animals, isn't there?
Well, there is, and because they've got their pilots, they've got, we'll take our hat off a little bit for the Aggies, but they're not a comparable role to the Army. But if your father was in a RAFI or your mum was a RAFI, of course you're going to want to be a RAFI. I understand that.
Exactly. Look, it's like, it is, when people say war machine, they really mean it. You think of the machine, it has so many different cogs and, moving parts and that for the whole thing to work.
Yeah, that's true. So when you do your research on what you're going to do and you start to understand what you want to do, you need to have those 3 options like we discuss in the videos. The reason is there could be something that is highly sought at the moment, a priority position they call it, and you're willing to go for that, and that might be your 3rd choice, which you've got to be careful with. You've got to make sure you actually want to do that role and research it, because otherwise you could end up in artillery and go, how did I get here? They don't care if you say infantry, armoured corps, cook. They don't have cooks anymore. I don't believe that's been privatised. But you really want to do infantry first or armoured corps second, they'll straight away give you cook, because no one else asked for it. So be careful what you ask for.
Exactly.
When you go in there, remember it's a job interview. When you go in there, speak to people around you, but don't be an idiot. Don't be sitting on your phone.
And dress like it's a job interview. Look after yourself. Okay, Kieran has asked, "Hey Kaz, hope you're on the mend from the Rona. How are you feeling?"
I'm all right.
Good. Was wondering what kind of rucking can be expected at Kapooka Kieran has been trying to train up to prepare. Do you recommend that?
I do not recommend training with packs because, one, it won't simulate what you've got. What you'll be using is the combat ensemble with integrated body armor, etc., as well in your fighting rig. Because you've got to remember, we don't just have a pack. We also have our life, our body armor with our webbing, our fighting ensemble, which is our lifeline, which we carry everywhere. And on top of that, it's a weapon as well. And we're using the boots, etc. So it would be very hard to replicate those demands. Take into account that everyone, when they go to Kapooka, it is likely the furthest you'll march. We used to do 15. You'll probably do 5. But that is as a PT orientated activity doing a PESA. So you'll do a 5-kilometre march. I don't believe they ever do more than 6 or 7. You know, if you get to Singo, you'll be doing at least 15. You know, you'll be stepping up very, very quickly. But everything has a step up. So don't try to prematurely prepare yourself. All I'd ask you to do fitness-wise is start to give up the gym a bit. Get away from the hypertrophy, building muscle, the V, trying to look like the corn chip for the beach. Swipe right. It won't make any difference. There's a million obvious on there. And go more for muscular endurance. Go more for the cardio. The cardio sucks. It does. But it makes you the better version of training than anything else. But don't train more than 3 or 4 days a week. When you do train, use intensity. Go out there, hit it hard, get some good shoes, treat it like body armor for your feet from Foot Locker, you know, or Athlete's Foot, where they'll give you the jogger you need, not the one you like.
Yep.
You know, and then protect yourself and get into the fitness. And what I need to do, and I'll probably send these out to the people as members or Patreon members that actually want them, is what I might start to make is some laminated diagnostic cards. And what they'll be is a card which will be laminated. And then from there, what you can use is a permanent pen on top of that. And you can put in, how fast can I run 2.4 the first time? How many dips can I do? How many chin-ups can I do? How long can I plank for? How many push-ups can I do? How many sit-ups can I do? The reason why you come to this channel is because I'll let you know, you never in your life need to do more than 65 sit-ups.
Yep.
65, yeah, because 64 is the most that is ever asked of the youngest person.
Yep, exactly. That's a really great idea. It'd be terrific for people to have a resource like that. You know, maybe the app isn't a bad idea.
Yeah.
You know, so I have a question for you, but it might be a bit off topic. Is that okay?
Yeah, send it.
Okay. Well, you said before Cabello Day. I've never heard of that. When is it?
I just made that up. So
I thought it was a real thing and that I've never heard of, and I thought, wait a minute, when is that?
No, when Cabello kicked off, that was around the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th of April.
What would you like us to do as a veteran of that? What could we do to stop and just remember it?
I would just look at it from a cultural point of view.
Yeah.
Understand, you know, everyone needs to lose the term racist from their vocabulary, just like Will Smith says, don't talk about his wife. You're allowed to not like another culture. I don't give a shit. Hate speech is saying, I hate you. You can't say a word that is about another culture, which you should be allowed to say. Big deal. Maybe you've got a great reason. If you don't like German Shepherds because you got bitten by one when you were younger, I get it.
Yep.
You know,
exactly.
I don't give a shit. I see dickheads in every single culture, every single one. Exactly. You know, but if you say that you dislike a person, you're an F and C, how's that any? Why is that not considered hate speech? Saying I hate you, you F and C, but if you say something about a colour or a gender or whatever, all of a sudden that's a problem. You go, it's bad manners is bad manners.
Look, when we were young, people used to be able to say whatever they wanted, and if they said something stupid, you just go, well, they're a dickhead, and you'd ignore them.
Well, the reason, getting back to what you were talking about, Cabello, the reason what made it so horrific, press like if you can, team, is sticks and stones will break your bones, sure. But the Hutus initially attacked the Tutsis, yeah? Mm-hmm. But then the Tutsis came back, and they killed 1 million people in an area as small as Tasmania, smaller. Okay, with bladed weapons. But then when the Tutsis came back into the country, Then they attacked them at Caballo, but also killed their women and children.
Yeah.
You're going, so two wrongs don't make a right. There is victims, but the victim, that line can go back and forth at a different time where both people are the aggressor and both people have been the victim. If you look back 100 years, we travelled at the speed of a horse. We used meat. We used salt on meat to make it preserve, unless you're in a cold climate. And everyone had a pretty bad deal except for kings. Now we've got people that live as YouTubers, as musicians, as celebrities, beyond the levels and responsibilities of what a king had.
The poorest of us in Australia lives as good as an ancient king.
Absolutely.
Hot water, tap, we have all sorts of tricks.
Yeah, so there was no laws of armed conflict, okay, in Rwanda. So if anything, I would say the tribute shouldn't be for the soldiers. I'd say the tribute should be for the people that are still alive now. A country that's got effectively 1 million people that have swung a machete and now pretending that they've all forgiven each other.
Oh.
I don't know about that one.
It just weakens the place, right? When people are always fighting this endless fight.
Yep. It's so sad. And as you get older, you get more emotional, that's for sure. And these are some of the things. This is where our leadership has let us down. Our politicians have let us down. Because that could have been different. What's happening with Ukraine and Russia could be different. Now, there's the right thing to do, and I'm not saying to flatten Russia.
No.
I'm sure there is two sides to this, and we're getting the narrative they want us to hear, just like we're hearing with Chris Rock and Will Smith.
Yeah, look, there's two sets of actual people who just want to live their lives.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And if you've got nothing going for you, but you're so alpha that this is the only way you're ever going to be a someone, by being able to rove around, perform the crimes behind enemy lines, whatever, take what you want whenever you want, become a warlord, either side, Yep. The big problems in Ukraine is going to happen when the Russians pull out, because then there's going to be accountability for bad behaviour. You're going to have a lot of very amped up, very capable individuals are going to have nowhere to go to still be able to act in the same manner.
Yeah, a lot of chaos. It's going to take a while to fix this up.
That guy at 21, too right, Kaz, love the endurance. Makes you better, man, and it gives you a straighter mindset. What you need to think about when you go to Kapooka, when you go to engineers, when you go to transport, when you go to infantry, when you go to armoured corps, is fitness is something that you can do. Kaz, you harp on fitness, okay, because it's something that you can control right now. And it's not something that is just about the military. It's going to make your life better in every single way. Now, and if you're going to be making yourself a devotee to fitness, why wouldn't you do it in a job that allows you to do it during work hours twice a day? That makes sense to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I think our fitness industry, is fake news. I think our nutrition industry is fake news. I've never seen so many people that train so hard but never compete in a single thing. Or can't tell you how much of anything they can do. How much can you lift? No big deal. There is no single reason why that makes any difference whatsoever to anything.
Yep, exactly. The same as martial arts, right? A lot of people come in and say, hey, I am, whatever at martial arts. Is that going to help me? Is it?
If it gets down to the stage where your actual cadres are going to help you, we're in big trouble. We're not an army that goes and throws punches. We've got a combative system, which is because it's one thing to have someone who is black belt, 3 Dan, etc. But if you're the only one, it makes no difference.
Yep.
We're not in the. If someone wants to fight with a soldier hand to hand, he's going to get the bayonet, the helmet, or the rifle. We're not going to meet him with the same level. We're going to go above it. If I've got a weapon, you're going to throw a petrol bomb at me, I'm going to shoot you.
Yep.
And I'll be allowed to.
Yep.
That's what.
Do it for a hobby by all means, but don't forget what Kaz is telling you. Think of it like being an athlete, right? You need to be well-rounded in all of those aspects.
Absolutely. And it's the things that we don't want to do that make the difference between are we disciplined, are we ready for this job, career, calling.
Because something, right, okay, I'm not like, an athlete by any means, but even just being fit in your general life, has its benefits. Okay, so it's like if you're well rounded in that, your life is better. You can enjoy it more. You train your mind at the same time as you train your body.
I see. Jesse Marks is saying police are the instruments of law. Very choosy with that comment, but yeah, I think it's very selective, and I think that comes from their leadership as well.
Here's Mr. Buccarini has a black belt in origami. Kaz has one in macrame.
Yeah, please. Oh, okay, there you go. There it is. Instructors of political interests.
Yep.
I'd agree. There's some there's definitely some truth behind that, mate, because it doesn't matter how righteous the cop is or how righteous the soldier is. At the end of the day, there's an executive branch that'll tell you that's not important. This is what we're focusing on, and this is what you're not allowed to do, despite the fact the common sense response to this would be A, B, and C. They'll say, no, you'll choose D, because either for force preservation or for political calming of a situation. What's happening at the moment between Ukraine, the fact that NATO can supply weapons systems, but not go and help them, that's exactly the same thing. You're putting the rock in the hand of someone else and saying you can throw this one, but saying, but leave me out of it. You can't do that. You're either in or you're out. And when you're a soldier, you don't get a choice, and you can't even just discharge if you disagree with what's going to happen.
No, exactly.
It's the same as a wonderful police officer, female cop that's got her first stint, might go out to a mass casualty, road trauma, and that could be enough to change her life forever. And I know a couple of police like that.
Yeah, no, my heart truly goes out to them. And I know there's some bad apples, because go somewhere where there's no bad apples in any industry.
There's none.
You get them wherever it's people. That's the human factor.
Yep.
But I wouldn't want to see what they see every day. I wouldn't want to do what... I'm glad they're there, and they see people at their worst moments in life,
Yep.
It would make you mighty cynical sometimes, I bet.
I'm not sure who Jesse Marks is angry at there.
I don't think he's angry. Jesse Marks often just gives an opinion that is, sometimes controversial, but I don't hate it.
I'm just wondering who political sociopathic pricks are.
Look, he might have met a couple of bad, others. Explain that. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Who's the...
I'm sorry, Jesse. Sometimes, mate, I'm slow on the uptake, mate.
I think he saw police there. He said pods, good ones, stay in the field. Otherwise, they're political sociopathic pricks.
Look, the same thing happens in the military too.
Yeah, exactly. He's just talking about the higher ranks of the police.
Yeah.
And it's the same, isn't it? You guys are the ones... You're the actual machine parts. You just have to go wherever the machine is told to go.
I'm sure it happens in teaching as well.
I'm sure it happens in probably every industry. Look, wherever you've got a boss, you have to walk the line.
Yep. Turkey fish. Gobble gobble. Okay.
Fish.
So let's get back onto the program again. So you're getting ready to go. Okay. When you go into the U session, you need to be prepared that you could be in the military 6 weeks later. You need to make sure that when you go in there, you're already fit. You need to make sure that you know how fast you can run 2.4, not beep test. You won't do beep test during your military career unless you're on a ship, in an FOB, or a confined space, or in a testing environment. That's the only times. I'm not a big fan of them personally. They're a good warm-up up to a certain level, but so you need to be able to do that. Push-ups, you need to be able to do that. Because if you turn up and you are just fit enough to do anything, that's telling me you used the bare minimum effort to prepare yourself. And what that's going to do is translate into pain and anguish to your platoon when they're carrying you in all activities that follow, because you can't keep up with the action fitness cycle in adverse conditions, in prolonged cold face exposure to whatever season of the year it is. And summer can be as brutal as winter, and vice versa. You need to be able to swim. For some reason, so many people can't swim anymore, and it's one of the biggest questions we get here. You need to be able to swim.
You do.
You also need to remember, no matter what your honour system is, that it is not a confession session. Do not talk about the things that do not need to be spoken about. Do not talk about, depression in the past. Because too many doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists, etc., are diagnosing people, not understanding that also prevents them from further employment in many categories throughout the professional sphere. So that's what I'd say about that. Other than that, I'm going to say, ask me some questions.
Also, someone was wondering about the officers.
Well, that's what I'm about to talk about now.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
one of the things we have as an officer, and when you want to go and become an officer, sometimes when you're going to be an enlisted soldier, you're going to score so highly on the IQ test, which is going to give an opportunity or insight that this person might be an advanced problem-solving individual. If I add some fitness and some charisma and some public speaking ability to this and widen their shoulders, we might just have someone that is a fantastic candidate to lead people, in a field environment or on operations. So, in saying that, normally when people go to be an officer, they're going to go in there and say, I want to be an officer. Okay? And then if they score high enough in their aptitude test, they'll give them an OSB, which is an officer selection, OSB, officer selection board, which means normally it's always run by officers. There's normally between 8 and 12 people that turn up to that, and they will give you a date. Now, one of the things that's really chapping my ass more than chap at the moment, or sliding down speargrass, is the fact that they're still doing remote OSBs, which means they cannot get any indication of who you are as an individual. But when I had a great chat with Emma the other day, and I've spoken to a bunch of people that have gone on to become officers as well, is you need to be all over it. You can be a little bit sort of ramshackle with what you want to do because the jobs within Army are changing names to make them sound more exotic all the time. And it's impossible to really to understand what you're getting yourself into. But if you're going to be an officer and accept the burden of command and everything that goes with it.
Yep, that's a great word, burden.
It is a burden. Those guys, they don't have it easy.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
I like that saying too.
Yeah, it's not mine.
Well, when you go for an OSB, what's going to happen before that, or when you go there, sorry, is they're going to be very, very direct. What they're not looking for is what's good about you. What they're looking for is something that disqualifies you, and it won't be hard when it comes to officers. Because it's a small portion of the Army where they know there's a good chance that one day you could be working in and around their field. Okay? So, what's going to happen is, when you go there, some of the questions they're going to ask, I'll try to ask these in the order I'd imagine they'd ask them. Why do you want to be an officer? Tell me. And you could simply say, I feel like academically, physically, mentally, I am a workaholic. Now, I always want to be able to do more. I want to be challenged. I don't want to be the soldier that just chases the girls around, has the adventure. I'm willing to take the loneliness so that I can lead the ship. I want to reach up and go as high as I possibly can to see if I can soar higher than the commanders that have taught me.
Because I imagine, that's a heavy responsibility. So if you don't like responsibility in your normal everyday life, or you don't handle it very well, maybe officer is not for you. Would you say that's fair?
I'd say it's fair, and I'd say this is one of the times in society where we've absolutely got mixed up the difference between a manager and a leader. Yeah. I'd say almost all managers in civilian sector aren't leaders, don't have leadership capabilities. That's not what they are. They're not decisive. It's not about compassion. It's not about all that shit.
It has its place. Yeah, management is important and has its place.
But it does. In also, the logistical role.
Yeah, I was imagining that OSB, I imagine that's quite daunting then, to sit in front of basically a panel of folk.
Absolutely it would be. And it would be for anyone, Yeah, it would be. Because the other thing is, Lauren, they need to make sure that when they talk to you, that they can just make a difference. And this is why the one that they do physically, which I'll speak about in a second, they're looking to see if you have a personality disorder or would you have leadership.
Yeah, are you one of them? They'll be able to you out.
Well, it's against all of Australian, the Australian mindset, the way we look to go, I want to be an officer. If you say that, people go, oh, dickhead, why would you want to do that? You know, it's like get off your high horse. Do you think you're better than this private school, own your own Grey Nichols cricket bat? You know, that sort of dude. You want to be the captain, you know?
Yep. Here's an officer-related question, if you'd like it.
Yep.
It's from Lawmaster Solstice.
That's a great name.
Yeah, it is. Good evening, Kaz. Enjoying the discussion and your insights. Waiting for my OSB first preference right now. Already done the rest and been offered my second preference, which was MP.
Okay. Well, let's stick with, I'd be an officer before I'd be an MP any day. I haven't met too many happy MPs because MPs aren't like cops. Okay, if you're going to go to the MPs and you want to be either a dog handler, attack dog handler, close protection, you know, or someone who is a guide, etc., for convoys on motorbikes, etc., do your trail bike courses, all that sort of stuff. If it's a big enough crime, then the MPs hand it straight over to the civilian police anyway. Yeah, and doesn't necessarily, I don't believe, even give you a real advantage in going to the police force afterwards.
It doesn't seem to.
Yeah. So, with the offset,
Jeff does, but I wouldn't say that in particular does.
Yeah, it's a little bit of fake news, I think.
I think so too. But if you had the choice, you would definitely go through with the OSB if you're given the choice.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you go to the OSB, who was that we were talking to then?
That was Lawmaster Solstice.
Lawmaster Solstice. Yourself and MSC. So we've got a male and a female there. So leadership. The next question I'm going to ask you, after I ask you why you want to be a leader, you know, would simply be, you know, when have you ever been a leader? Give me an example of that. And that's when I had a good talk with Emma, and she was speaking about managers, etc. And I'm like, well, that's a manager, that's not a leader.
Yeah.
You know, so a leader is normally, to me, defined with common sense by a time when, in the absence of supervision, instruction, or actual leadership or rank, that peers chose to follow you voluntarily, okay, knowing that you were the best person to lead them in the vacuum of actual structured leadership. So that means that you've been chosen. School captain, chosen, voted for. Cricket captain, netball captain, rugby league captain.
Yep.
Now, all of these things showed that you stepped up and did something and were chosen by others, sometimes older, for your ability to read the play and get them back.
With the responsibility.
Yeah, so they're going to look for that. You should have some form of that. Otherwise, they're going to go, well, this doesn't make sense. You want to be a leader, but you've never been one.
Yeah, you need to take integrity very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Integrity especially.
Especially for a leader versus a manager. I feel like a manager maybe works on policies, whereas a leader has to be capable of abstract thought.
Well, the manager doesn't have to have any sort of charisma. There's normally no danger involved. And normally it's a position that has been allocated to them via tertiary education, etc., or something else, rather than charisma that is actually leading you to be able to, in like the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, persuade people to voluntarily do something that's crap or something against what they'd normally want to do, but understand that you've asked them in a way that you're with them in the trenches, so they're going to listen to you.
Exactly.
That's why politicians don't realise why they're never liked.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine being at the serious end of this, being an officer in the ADF, I imagine, is the difference between an international incident and not one. That stakes are very high.
Well, Sun Tzu. There we go, bam. That is a book. I've got a couple of these I'm actually sending out to some people at the moment.
Great.
This is a diary. That's actually a diary. So, although it is the ancient art of war from Sun Tzu, who arguably was probably a bunch of people, not one.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just put it down to Sun Tzu the collective.
Well, that one's a diary. So the people I send this to, when they get it, they'll know who they are.
Fantastic.
Okay, that's so they can write in, and then the ancient art of war becomes their book.
Yeah, exactly.
How they're going to lead.
They can
So,
write their own playbook. Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys and gals that want to be leaders. So the first question I'm going to ask after that, all right, if you can produce evidence or question you, well, if you've never been one, why do you want to be one, or what makes you think that we want you to be one? Then the next thing we're going to ask you is give me 3, 2, 1 inspirational person who has inspired you to be here as in an OSB rather than in a group of 50 people that want to go and serve together. You know, going to Hawaii, you know, going to Townsville, you know, going on operations.
Some people thrive with responsibility and duty, though. Like, some people are really, maybe it's a calling.
Well, you can speak to some 17-year-olds and they can tell you 10 or 15 influential characters. You know, whether that be Joe Rogan, you know, his leadership that he has on that show that's made him the biggest podcast in the world. Okay, it could be someone that they don't necessarily like. It could be a Donald Trump. It could be Hannibal. It could be Xi Jinping. You know, depending on what your background is. It could be Zelensky at the moment. It might be Joan of Arc. It could be Elon Musk.
Yep. Could be Boudica.
Yeah, it could be Boudica. But they're going to ask you why. What made that person so inspirational? Can you unpack, extrapolate that for me? And they're going to look.
Have to be able to back it up. Yeah.
My advice for that is do not choose an Australian general, ever. Because if you choose an Australian general to say that that is your inspiration, you're talking to other officers who know everything about that individual, and they'll be able to see holes in your story, or whether you're poodle faking and just trying to impress them.
Exactly. Hey, here's a question
Yep.
from Destined. Would time as an enlisted soldier help in the skills they would be looking for in an OSB?
Can you read that one again, please?
Yeah. Would the time as an enlisted soldier help in the skills they would be looking for in an OSB?
No. It's that is a double-edged dagger right there, mate. Who was that from again?
That was from Destined.
Destined. Okay, good name. The reason why I say that is, Mr. Buckaroo, you know this too, is when you actually do military service, you know, you will have every single month a notebook, you know, that is written on you from an officer. You know, good, bad, you know, etc. And what will happen is, one day if you say you want to be an officer, you know, they know every single thing about you. They may be biased about you. You know, you might be tarnishing their personality, their cult of personality, etc.
Yeah.
And they have to give you the tick that they want you to come and now be an officer. You know, you can do it in the military, but normally what happens is you normally go from sergeant and above, and then you can change over and become a basically first year captain in seniority. You know, I'm not a big fan of people jumping over across that. I've seen a lot of warrant officer class 1s, the highest rank you can be, that have jumped over and then gone into the officer cadre. And I'm like, you've tarnished being the very highest rank going to the second lowest rank in the military. You know, I don't understand. You know, it might be because that's the only way they can stay in the uniform. You know, because you do have contracts once you get to the top.
Not to say it would be impossible, but it would be highly regular.
It is rare. It's rare. It happens, and you're also, for a short time, looked up to because you can assist them at RMC, but that can also become resentment. You know, if you keep making reference to, oh, but this is how you do it, you're going to be assessed at a much higher level because you already have an experience in all of these junior leadership roles.
Yeah, now junior leadership, that was something I wanted to talk to you about because you have obvious leadership skills, right? You lead everyone here, you inspire everyone, you coach everyone here. So you have obvious leadership skills.
ADD.
And is that how, because you were a sergeant, right? So really if we're breaking down the ranks, that is a role of leadership, isn't it?
It is, but a sergeant is a position where you're the advisor and the logistical expert within a platoon. Before that, the cult of chaos, so to speak, the most leadership I've seen happens between section commanders. Section commanders are in charge of the most people in the army directly, which means you have 7 people that you are directly saying, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you basically are the mother and the father of them. And they're like little football teams of themselves, where people will be, I want to be in his section, I want to be in his section. No one says, I want to be in the platoon with that sergeant, or I want to be in that platoon with that platoon commander. And if they do, it's not because they think he's a legend, and sometimes because they think he just won't F us around. Because at the end of the day, the best platoon commanders, people often don't want to be in their platoon because they're going, this guy wants to go to Special Forces. We're never going to get a day's rest as this guy tries to make a reputation with the skin off my feet, the skin off my hands, the skin off my back.
I see. Here's a question. Lachlan Geimer has said, hey, Kaz, were you an officer? And if not, do you wish you were when you joined?
I have absolute respect for officers that do their job, and choose to be a leader and the burden of command that comes with that. I am not a leader. I believe I was a really good section commander. I believe I was a really good instructor, but I prefer to support the ship. I prefer to look at people and be inspired by people and follow them and be like the dog that runs around in circles with my tongue out going, see what I did? See what I did? Yeah. I was the first one here. Well, my rifle's the cleanest, but my room is the dirtiest, but the sergeant saw that, not you.
And please don't look at my pack in your case.
I'll come first in the runs. I'll woo the women. I'll be a shooter.
Yeah. I'm just going to reverse engineer the chat for a second. Bot Killer Gaming has said, I just marched out today. Thanks, mate, for the help.
Where from? Kapooka?
I don't know.
Or Singo? Or somewhere?
No, please.
Please let us know. It's a really moving thing for me to see people's victory stories, and it's a really good translation to people that are really nervous in comments that there is a lot of happy endings, and I don't mean...
No, you don't mean. Keep going.
Asian massage.
Yeah, Fugly's here. Hi, Fugly.
Hey, Fugly, look at you standing out there.
Yeah. Hi, all. Sorry I haven't been on stream for ages. New job has me finishing at 6:30 every night. And you're busy. You've got Harley. I believe there's another one on the way. You're busy.
You are not the father.
Yeah. Jesse March says that he wasn't talking about us before he was saying he thinks this stream is what gives the reality and expectations of the services. Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that. We try to just give you the good oil, whether it's negative or positive.
And Jesse, to tell you the truth, quite often you guys are all over certain topics that are very, very close to your heart. And that's why I'll always ask you, what do you actually mean by that? Because we learn all the time. I will flip-flop on things that I've thought that are always real when I hear a better version of that truth. Exactly
right. Okay, Kapooka, Bot Killer Gaming said, just marched out of Kapooka. Well done.
That's a good feeling, but a scary feeling. Where are you going for IETs, mate? Army Reserve or regular Army?
Exactly.
Because IETs normally means step up, no more excuses. You're a general service soldier now. Here you are, time to meet some new people, and everything's about to change. Level of expectation, responsibility for actions, teamwork, mateship, timings, discipline, all of those things. And when we finish there, guess what's going to happen? It all starts again at the unit.
Yep, exactly. Welcome, Chris Verstegen.
That's a good name. Where is that name?
He just became a member.
Not too cow. He's put his helmet on. He's off to Ukraine.
Oh, come on. Surely you'd give him some training.
They're doing a good job over there, but I tell you, the final chapter has not been played.
Exactly. Sorry, JTTL has said, hey, Kaz, currently in my 14-day isolation on RAF Wagga, about to start one RTU. Cheers for the videos getting me here.
Sounds good, man. I'll never understand why there's 14 days, for COVID, for isolation, but only 7 days if you've actually got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Can we get some thumbs up there for Chrissy for coming on over and becoming welcome to the Great Unwashed? Membership means his name is now changed. He's got the little soldier beside his name. Then he's going to end up with his Lance Corporal, full corporal, best rank in the Army. I reckon might be Sergeant, but you'll get that next as well.
Yep, exactly. Matt Hughes said, Kaz, I recently marched out from Kapooka on the 25th of the 3rd.
Yep.
I really appreciated your commentary in the weeks, months leading up. That's some great feedback.
It is great feedback, Matty. And guess what? You're about to be at IETs in the month of the Anzac Day, and you're going to get deeper and deeper into this. When I heard a song today called "Poster Girl," you know, it's I don't know if you've heard it before, but it's a beautiful song. It really is a beautiful, especially through Apple CarPlay in a $110,000 VW van. You know that you're going to see a video in the next few days.
Exciting.
But "Poster Girl" is about a woman in Australia who was a pin-up girl, stripper. And she's talking about how proud she is that she made it onto the wall of a base overseas that soldiers looked at and had a little bit of escape from the realities of war. And she's talking back to Australia saying, if you don't have the pride in your heart for what these people do overseas without looking at the intricacies of their personality, then you can take my picture off your wall at Australia.
Exactly.
I'd rather, and she says, I'd rather be on a wall on operations, you know, than on your wall back here in Australia.
That makes her work, and it is work, worthwhile.
Well, it's why the was it Killing Heidi? I think it was. She came over to Timor, wouldn't touch a weapon. She's going, no, I'm a pacifist. But she really believed in maybe the hype of getting over there and getting some validity. But she also done a really bloody good job and made us feel great.
Exactly, because we're all human. You may not support an actual conflict or the whole system of the ADF, but remember, those who serve in it are people. So you should at least support the people. Anyway, moving right along. Bob Killer Gaming said he's going to regular army and it's Ramey. Wasn't your daddy Ramey?
My dad was Ramey. Best guys in the army, you know, because they work too hard to worry about regimentality. So they'll always tell you the truth. And those guys have always got a Santa's list of jobs to do. Always grease up to the elbow. You know, they will tell you, I haven't got time for your rank. You know, what are you wasting me time for here? It'd be like talking to Elon Musk going, you just cost $3 million. You just cost me $3 million by your stupid question. You know, Ramey will tell you how it's done.
Yeah, exactly. And they work hard too.
Bloody hard.
Yeah. Hi, Guardian. Nice to see you here.
Okay, so back to being an officer again.
Yep.
Okay, so you've told them who's inspired you. You know, the other one that I was speaking with Emma about is be prepared they're going to try and push you off balance by asking you, and they should say this in any role, really, by saying, tell me 2 negative traits about yourself. Because the first thing you're going to do is go, negative traits? I'm in an interview here where I'm trying to tell you, cheer squad me, why you should be picking me for this role. And now you want me to pick something bad about myself. Well, what happens is, and I recommend anyone that's going for OSB, get on Patreon, tick on this, have the conversation with me so we can dictate some sort of plan, but not a script, that's going to prepare you for your OSB and give you that 0.8% better chance of getting through. It's actually a lot more than that. But, you've got to help yourself. If you come over and you talk to me, the instructor of officers, you know, then you really put another feather in your cap, an opportunity of success. So they're going to ask you some points about yourself. You know, what I help you to do is talk to me about points about you, and we make your bad points that they want to see actual good points. So although in a civilian world it may have bad application, in actual fact, it's a good thing. So they're going to go, I see why you would say that is a bad thing, but it's actually pretty good for Army, and we think that's awesome. That makes you hot. And while they're thinking about swiping right on you, now they're going to ask you to deliver some conversation, a impromptu speech. Well, it may not be impromptu because you can talk about something that you understand well. It might be about oyster farming. It might be about professional dog training. It might be about something that you have depth in. But when you actually talk that way, or they might throw a topic at you that you've never heard of, and they go, sell me some sand. And I'm an Arab. Okay, Allah Akbar, drinking tea, not coffee. And you've got to be able to do that. But one thing I will tell you is, first thing you should do is hit the stopwatch so that you know they said 5 minutes, it's going to be 5 minutes. If it's 7 minutes, 7 minutes. Actively say, I introduce my subject, which is blah, blah, blah. The reason why I chose this subject. And then talk about it for about a minute. And then let them know the main body we'll break into now about my subject is blah, 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 blah. And when that's complete, then you go, I'm going to conclude this. And there's a summary by saying blah, 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 blah. The reason why we'd say that, they know how to give impromptu speeches. They know how to give formal speeches. But they understand that you know what you're doing. Time compliance, and you also know how to structure an introduction, main body, and conclusion, and you didn't just fluke it. So they understand you know what you're doing. Because all of your life is going to be about the articulation of information.
And that's a key. Real communication, not just words you think people want to hear. This is real grown-up communication, a conveying of ideas.
Yeah, because you're going to be...
Say the most words. It has to have meaning behind it.
It does, because it can sound bullshit. You know, you don't want to sound like Will Smith's speech. You want to sound like Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday. You want to sound like the person that can bring people up. One of the best speeches that I'd ever heard, actually, and I wasn't really a fan of the show, was Firebase Restrepo, where they'd just lost one of their soldiers, and then the platoon commander came out and basically said, your time for crying is goddamn over. He's dead. He's still dead, and you could be dead too if you drop your shit, stop being vigil, and don't prepare for the fact that it's only just begun. So he got him back on the horse and said, this is your time, I'll cry with you. But when this is done, we go back and we do what we do. You're all here by volunteers. You know, let's get it done. It was a really, really good speech, you know, and I really appreciate it. And I would have accepted that myself too.
Yep, exactly. Do you want to go back to the chat for a second?
Of course.
Okay, Abraham
Lincoln.
No, I'm not sure how to say his last name. Is it Anasi said, thank you for being so grateful, Kaz, for all the beautiful thoughts you share. I wouldn't have known much. You brought motivation to my life, and I am confident joining the army. Best of luck.
Well, thank you, mate. And I can clearly hear in your voice that you're the sort of person that is a giver. You know, you can hear that, mate.
Yep.
The army was always about people to me. You know, just like this channel is about people. It really is. You know, I cannot stand seeing talented people that are cut off at the knees so young by a decision or a fear to be able to do something they really wanted to do, so they choose not to do it and then spend a life of regret. Always having seconds.
How many folk do we get in here who said, there was someone in the comments just I think on the last stream saying, I joined when I was young, I messed it up, I wish I'd never done that, I wish I'd never messed it up. We get people with regrets all the time.
We do. And sometimes decisions they've made. You know, I've got a bloke at the moment, one of my best friends, and he's about to get a job that pays hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially in the mines over there. And he is a cracker at his job. He actually used to work for me, you know, but he's also one of my best friends. You know, I hope he's not listening. But he is now nervous. He's got some criminal record because someone on an AVO said that he breached it when it was via phone. So that might cost him a several $100,000 a year job in the USA. Because
it's clearly written down.
Yeah, so it's
choices.
Yeah, this choice could cost him.
Yep.
The flow-on effects. Is that Jacko or Jocko? Was that?
It's Jacko, and he said, past everything for Adji. Is that ADG?
Yes, it is. You filthy Adgies.
Yeah, but had to fix some medical things. Now the role is part of AFSEC.
Okay.
AFSEC. So I don't know what happened.
Air Force Security.
Yeah, was thinking about changing to 343. Thoughts?
I would much rather you be in 343 than a blue uniform, scumbag Air Force guy. Is Simon Powell here?
No.
We'll
Yes,
take you
let
any
me-
day. Okay, let me give you a quick tip there. Yeah, okay, you want to go to Aggies, okay, or 343. Remember, it's all about the people you're going to be around. You're going to be about around the same sort of people
Yeah.
that go to Aggies as what you'd be in 343 infantry. The difference being, you're not going to be tested in Aggies. What you're doing is preparing to be the guy that guards a rectangle, an airfield, from encroachment, normally from either special forces or opportunist criminals or trespassers.
Yep.
You know, that's not likely to happen on the outside of you. It's 343 infantry to protect you from what's outside that.
Yep.
You know, 343 is a larger group. You know, more people to choose from. You know, better weapons, more adventures, more opportunity for adventures. You know, I just think it's a hell of a lot better culture.
Yep,
I think
exactly.
343. I wish you'd actually put that beautiful donation there into Patreon instead, so I could have this conversation with you over a cup of coffee and say to you while I'm walking through lukewarm water on the beach as I got out of my 6.1 Transporter VW, brand new.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I'd love to have had a long conversation with you about that one, because if you asked anyone, you know, in Aggies, would they swap over to the infantry now? Unless I were nervous, I'd say they'd say yeah. Yeah, I'd do that.
Let me see if I can put a link in for the Patreon.
Thank you very much for that too.
Yeah.
With that
And I hope-
yellow cow.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's Tuan with a
Tuan.
donation. Yeah.
His young one,
Yep.
I believe, is now been promoted. And not promoted, is now marched out.
Oh, really? Oh,
TT.
You're getting close. That's so exciting. We're proud as punch.
Not too cow. You look like slap, like you need to put some sun lotion on. You're getting sunburnt there, Tuan.
Yeah.
Mate, some great news. Some really great news.
Oh, no, thanks for being here. You know,
Look-
thanks for being here. We've got Tyson Woods is here, and he says, I leave in 4 weeks. Super keen.
Just in time for winter. Your life sucks.
We do this dance every year, don't we?
Yeah. When I see TT, what makes me really happy about this is this emphasises to me, when you join as an enlisted soldier or as an officer, that there is a realm of influence, that you have changed, a butterfly effect, for example, where you've changed the destiny, the reputation of your entire family. You know, these are the people that, even if they didn't agree with you going to the military, will be the ones that are crying the hardest at your march out. They'll be so stoked for you that they can say their kid served. Anzac Day all of a sudden becomes more important. Remembrance Day becomes more important. On Monday, my daughter has been asked by the school to lay the wreath for their Anzac Day memorial. You know, and
Beautiful.
next year, they said when parents can come back on, I'm hoping to go back on there in my suit medals and everything and give an explanation to the year 5s and year 6s.
How great.
While wearing your medals, etc., because they're all about what they can see in front of them and read the ode out. But my daughter has met some of the soldiers that have died in the Australian uniform.
Yep.
You know, so she'll be the only one at that school that has that experience. She won't remember any of that. But she's got a whole lot of Australian Army uncles that love her, that would protect her.
It's
So,
true.
so when you see the families come around, people's kids, and I'd do anything for other soldiers' kids too,
True, we are like one big family.
but not freaky.
Not freaky. We do get freaky sometimes, but it's not creepy.
Okay, so, yep, son finished today.
Yeah, how great is that? That's so good. And, you know,
Is he drinking at the Victory Hotel?
join up or that we try to look after their loved ones.
Yep, the Victory Hotel is it's a place that's basically been paid off 1,000 times over at Wagga Wagga by soldiers going there for their graduation parades with their families.
Yep, indeed. I'm a bit behind in the questions, so I'm sorry if I've missed one. Can you just repeat it, guys? But I did see one back here where it was from jury,
Ikogor.
yeah, jury has said, what do you think of the intelligence officer? People say it is risky because you are pretty much like a spy officer. Well, everything's risky at
Yeah,
that end.
I would say that's probably a fairly long bow to draw.
Yeah.
Um,
I say you guys are at more risk, probably.
yeah, we are not allowed to not wear our uniform. You
Exactly.
know,
And
as
for
part of
every
the laws of armed conflict, we must wear a uniform at all times.
exactly, and
The,
for every layer of clearance, it also means the people have an extra layer of security also, and removal from their names being seen by other people. So the risk might be mitigated really well.
yeah,
You don't hear about it happening all the time, that they're, disappearing or coming to
in 30
accidents.
seconds, the phone is going to ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Jack Reacher. You know,
Like Hollywood.
basically the officers, I've worked with intelligence before. Basically, they are analysts, okay? In Navy, they are analysts. And then from there, basically what occurs is they have HUMINT teams, they have other teams, legal officers, etc. And
Exactly.
basically information flows in, they gather it, they slap it together, they look at what is a trend and what is just something that might be stuck in the net. And then once they think they have enough information to give a brief, that brief then goes to military units like the infantry battalions, armoured corps, aviation, etc. And then from there, that becomes part of the military appreciation process for the commander, who now needs to decide what he needs to achieve in in an area of operations or a tactical area of operations of responsibility, etc. And they'll tell him the size of patrols, the level of resistance, etc. And then we'll send feelers out, usually large forces first, and then down to smaller forces. Once we determine that information's a-okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a good question, right?
Yeah,
It's probably not going to be popular with you, but it's a good question.
that's all right.
Lim to Lim has asked, I know you are anti-MP. You're not anti-MP. You just...
I just want you to have the best experience.
And I don't think they understand the role, because you must really kind of get past the marketing of recruiting first,
Yep.
okay? I know you're anti-MP, so we're not anti-MP. We just want you to really know what you're getting in for. But what would you say are the positives of this role, both officer or soldier, military police?
I'd say there is no advantages to officer in MPs. I couldn't imagine any.
And this isn't a personal grudge. I've heard this independently of Kaz.
Yep.
This is well known.
I couldn't think of any from that point of view. I couldn't imagine any application where the officer of MPs has any importance whatsoever, just like the superintendent doesn't mean anything to anyone in the police. You know, he's not going to be on the street. He's not going to be helping you lift a stretcher. He's not going to be holding a child, and covering their eyes from the incident. So an officer, you never really see them. I've worked with one, female one, on operations. She made a mess of things personally. But also, the MP role itself, I think people see it as, and what you could see is there's variants of the MP in the American system, where you might get confused with that and think maybe it's a similar. Now, they've got some cool roles, but the reason MPs used to be a role you had to have already done time in another corps for at least a year before you even had the maturity to understand the rank system, how to communicate with people before you could even go for a role. So in the absence of that, people going straight in MP know nothing about being in the army. And now they're kicking people's ass with a radar gun, pretending to be a cop. You just ran at 41 kilometres an hour. You're going to get a ticket. I've met some shitloads of guys that went to MPs from infantry, and none of them liked it. I'm trying to protect you here. I've slept with a couple as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like when you...
They were female, not male.
It's not the same when you hang crap on the Navy and that they do that back. This is just us telling you the actual truth of the role cutting through all the marketing spin that you're going to see at recruitment. And you know, if there were positives, we'd definitely tell you. But Kaz, what would an officer in MPs, what would they do?
The only one I saw was there acting as a general service officer.
Right. What's that mean?
That means you're not necessarily there for the actual role of MP. Right. She was there because she was just a qualified captain. So she was doing something that had nothing to do with MPs, just the fact she was a captain. Otherwise, you won't ever even see an MP officer.
Yeah, exactly. Jess Mark's father was Ramey as well.
They're always good blokes. But they'll steal your lunch and your cold Cokes as well.
Okay, here's Brown Key has said, "Hey Kaz, I'm 16 and had a sore back for a few months. I had 2 scans that came back all clear. Would my trips to the physio for this disqualify me from the army?"
I would say buyer beware. I'd say buyer beware. When no one can find out what's happening and you've had prolonged back pain, mate, and you're 16, this is when you are the most nimble.
Yeah, for your own sake, you need to get that checked out.
Listen to your body, mate.
Exactly. And I don't know if it would necessarily disqualify you straight up. Some people have to provide evidence and that about things that they question. So
there's a lot of cause. I wouldn't choose the infantry if I was you.
No, exactly, because it's at the end of the day, you're not going to have a long career if you know, are already suffering.
And we've got a fantastic soldier who had been a prison guard, and then he went to Kapooka, did ace, got to Singo, bam, blew his back, out of the army, chronic pain, and now disabled.
And back pain is the worst.
Yep.
It is.
You've got a voodoo doll. You should remember that when you put pins in it.
I'll just turn them all over and go for the backs now. Twist them.
Emma, read that one.
Okay, Emma says, some very confused guy was trying to convince that an officer in MP is the same as NCIS, like the TV show. I'm so sorry for him.
If there's a murder, it ain't getting sorted out by us.
They're not going to rock up at the actual army houses and do investigations.
Look, we used to tease MPs all the time because they'd turn up with General Cosgrove or other dignitaries with their weapon held like that, and I'm going, mate, can't you hold the barrel up? Is it heavy? You go, how do you feel that you've got 700 soldiers from the Men in Black? That's all I've got in common with Will Smith. The 2nd Battalion Royal Australian Regiment were known as the Men in Black. So when we turn up, it'd be big arms in singlets before they actually said that you can get cancer. And then, they'd play that song for us sometimes to let people know that the 2nd Battalion's about to turn up.
Right, I remember hearing pipes and drums come out with Back in Black, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Girls taking their wedding rings off.
They're the ladies' favourite, I have to tell you.
2RR?
Yeah, of course.
There you go. Well, 1RR had a donkey. You know, they used to ask us what our mascot was. We'd say, well, it was 1RR.
Yeah. Okay, Dingo has asked, hey Kaz, know anything about electronic warfare operator?
Sure do. I was core enlisted to go to electronic warfare officer. And at that time, 30 years ago, that was a 40-week course learning Morse code. And for someone with ADD, the thought of sitting there going, with the highest level of secrecy, you know, I was going, I can't do that. I will be a statistic if I had to do that. So I said no to that, and then I went to infantry, never looked back, okay, except when I was at the bathroom, okay, in a Navy base. But that was my own preservation, so I wouldn't get captained, so to speak. But those guys, they're not special forces, but they're the highest level of security within the intelligence community. Their qualifications can be then taken from there out into civilian street. You'll be required to be able to have an application into foreign languages. They will choose a language, not you. They're an unusual group. Can't talk about it. You go, well, I'm the one that gets killed. I can talk about that. You know?
Yeah. Okay, Guardian has asked, Kaz, what are your thoughts on infantry blokes wearing identity-concealing stuff? Like, I suppose, balaclavas and stuff, shamags and that.
There's no need for it, mate.
I see a lot of it nowadays. Just curious as to your thoughts.
That crept in. It crept in. You know, I understand with SASR. You know, I understand to an extent with commandos as well. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they know who you are. If you get captured, you don't have any specific information that you can give. The bear Jew isn't going to come and hit you with a bat if you don't talk. You know, I think it's just crept in that it's almost like, I don't know, people thinking they're more special than what they are. It's not like we're getting targeted on Australian soil by anyone. This is the way I'd see it, litmus test. Yep. If they haven't attacked and taken down, what's his name? Avi. what's his name? Someone Avi, the protagonist that goes out and goes up to Islamic people and starts shit.
I wouldn't know.
If they haven't taken him down, mate, then you're okay to go with the uniform. You know, as a matter of fact, there should be more of a scene in uniform so someone sees something outside celebrity or sportsman that they think is worth following the footsteps of. You know, if you see a soldier, you feel free to go over to them and say, excuse me, can I speak to you for 1 minute? They'll be proud. They'll talk to you. They'll communicate with common sense, and they will respect the fact that you want to be like them. You know, and if you have 2 Australian flags, give them one. You know, give them one and say, take this one, mate. Remember the time the time we spoke. You know, I want my family name. I wasn't scared of getting targeted. I'm not going to not have my name tag on. Too scared to wear my family name? No way.
Yep. Okay, Ethan H. has said, hi, Kaz. I've been told that intelligence officer is one of the most desirable roles for the GSOs.
General Service Officer.
Right, going through Duntroon. Any thoughts on why this is? What do intelligence officers do?
They eat a lot of olives.
They do all kinds of things.
They probably talk a lot of crap. You know, they get they're considered probably an elevated individual that is closest to hearing from the king himself. So they're going to hear information, you know, and be on the inner circle. That's probably why.
And I think they've got all their own onion layers, like languages and then data reading and all their other stuff, you know, that they would have different roles within that.
Yeah. And I'd absolutely love to have been working with intelligence closely because I love geopolitical information. I love it. Having said that, I'm sure that most people will be more excited about being a rotary wing, aviation corps, Black Hawk pilot or Apache pilot soon, or maybe someone in a troop of tanks or someone in a troop of armoured fighting vehicles, you know, or leading a platoon of infantry, you know, or getting involved in mass fleet logistical coordination in transport. You know, it's all depending on you. Maybe that was said by someone who was in intelligence. I couldn't imagine there'd be many people that gravitate towards the Jack Reacher, you know, sort of role that would want that. Because it normally means you're not around a lot of other people.
Exactly. Vulcan Tech has said, hey Kaz, can you touch on avionics aircraft technician roles as a trade in the Army? Also, just your opinion on all trades in the Army.
Well, trades naturally, you normally need to have pass 4 subjects, not 2, to go into a lot of the trades, you know, because they don't want to waste their time on you. And they're also giving you a top-notch qualification. They take it very, very seriously. When you go to aviation, you know, the perks that come with aviation as opposed to RAMI in 1RAR, 2RAR, Armoured Corps engineers, etc., is you're going to get all the prima donna bullshit that comes with being in aviation corps, the prima donnas of the sky. You know, like, because there's going to be a lot of It will be too late for you, but there'll be a lot of aircraft, naturally, jet sounds, high decibels. So everywhere they go is normally double glazed windows, air conditioning, rarely get dirty, sleeping, have to be given 8 hours sleep a night, unlikely to get wet.
It's office work.
Yeah, and you'll be getting the chocolate milks and the extra rations. You're normally going to be very close to special forces as well because of the level of protection on FOBs, large bases, etc. that is afforded to them. So I'd say that they just have basically like a private school treatment as opposed to a primary school, a public school canteen.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, moving right up. First, thanks to Mr. Buccaroni because he's handling some questions in the chat really
Thanks,
well.
Buck.
Appreciate it. Igor Jury, who we spoke to before, has one more question for you.
Yep.
Is having a refugee background, does it affect yourself from joining the army?
Not if you can speak English.
And maybe work on your English, and that might be one of the only things that hold you back. But if you want it bad enough, you take all the steps you need to do it, but then it won't hold you back. It could be an asset.
And you're more than welcome, mate.
Yeah,
where'd you come from, sir? Can we get some thumbs up for that gentleman, please?
And feel free to correct my pronunciation on your name, please. I'm just trying my best here.
Well, I'll give you a thumbs up for that one, mate. I think what a fantastic way to show respect and also an immersion into the culture of another country.
And that's all we ask.
And that diversity will give you that dark humour that'll make you laugh and be accepted very, very quickly. As long as you can speak English well. I'll give you an example. There was an African soldier from Rwanda. He's an Australian soldier now, but he was a little boy. An Australian soldier went over to him when he thought the end was nigh and said to him, "You're okay, son. You'll be all right. We're here. We're going to protect you." Wasn't the day I was there. And basically what happened was he ended up getting immigration status to Australia. He got immigration status to Australia and then joined the Australian Army. And now he leads, he's probably been promoted already. And he's a success story from Rwanda. Yeah, fantastic. No one likes meatheads like being the redhead stepchild. I haven't heard that one for a while. Push bikes with square wheels, we know the way it works. Navy veterans here. Good to have you here, Navy veteran. What happens when you cross the equator, mate? For the refugee questions, possibly psych, but mostly not having to have your last 10 years accounted for by English-speaking person for your... is that for you? Sorry, I can't see it properly. Is that for your secrecy, etc.? That'll be a tough one. If you're a refugee trying to come up with your vetting, security vetting, because you'll need to be cleared for secret, mate. Whatever country you come from, that can determine that or make it harder, or even a kibosh culture. I'm a solicitor and have been eyeing the legal officer role. Looks like an interesting area to get stuck into. I'm glad you came here there, Justice Dude, because I've worked with legal officers naturally every time I've been overseas. What I recommend for people to become a legal officer is normally go through and do it in Army Reserve, because not only is there not enough of you, but all you got to do is be in Army Reserve, and then you dodge all the bullshit, but you get to be in your legal practice, etc., within the civilian sector. And what happens is normally what would occur from there is you do what they call a knife and fork course at RMC that would prepare you for the operation that's coming up, because you're a skilled individual that's required for the legalities of the rules of engagement, the laws of armed conflict and infractions. So I think you should really look at the Army Reserve side of things, mate, because, I reckon they'll lap you up. They will. Like a cat laps milk. Guardian! Get hungry, they say. He's hungry like the wolf. Good song. Let's shake the bell so we can get out of here. That means 5 minutes, team. One more lap. Just watched a young bloke, he was tall, who just ran the mile in the USA on a 200-metre track, which means 8 laps. And he ran it in 3 minutes and 48 seconds. That's nearly 12 seconds quicker than Lord Batten that broke the 1 minute mile. That's insanely fast. That gave him the 3rd fastest time ever. Fantastic. Well done to that man. Inconspicuous Daddy. That name is always going to be dark humour to me. It makes me laugh. I think of Jerry Springer. You are the father. You are not the father. Put a thumbs up here if you've watched anything about Chris Watts. That's a really interesting dive there. Chris Watts for the true crime investigators. Kaz, what was your favourite vehicle, land or air, to travel in whilst on operations? Well, it wasn't the bloody Tobruk, I tell you now. It was probably the hovercraft that took us to East Timor the second time. That was amazing. Fast, looked cool, felt cool. But they closed the canteen. They weren't there to impress us. APC was the most common. Personnel carrier was the most common I was in. I was happy to be in it because I could suck off the invisible man, go to sleep underneath the arse of the commander as I was up underneath the cupola. That was where my position always sat. But I didn't enjoy it in there, sucking up the fumes and the cigarette from the crew commanders. For some reason, everyone in Armoured Corps seems to smoke. It wasn't the LAV, because the LAV bounces. It's a wheeled armoured vehicle, makes you seasick. The Tobruk makes you seasick. It always stunk like vomit and cleaning materials. The planes, Herc, not so much. No seatbelts, hanging on for dear life. White knuckle on the red seats. No, it wasn't that either. Could have it been the Globemasters, Galaxies? No, too many people on board there. I think it would have been the Black Hawk, despite the fact that I'm scared of heights. When the doors are kicked open and you're in there, you're getting cleaned by nature. Yeah, I'd probably say rotary ring aircraft, the helicopters. Yep. Or the American Navy ships were pretty good too. Wider hallways, more commissary, juice in a can, pissed me off. I thought I was getting a fruity Coca-Cola. Nah, just juice. Doesn't make sense. Unbuttered popcorn. Why would ya? Navy veteran. When you cross your quota, you have the crossing of the line ceremony. Geez, he's getting the shit for that one. And give thanks to the King of the Sea. Really, it's just a good day of barbecues and beer. Well, see, a lot of people don't know Navy veteran. See you later, Guardian. Oh, no, he's saying not IQ Neg. See you later, IQ Neg. Great to have you here, mate, as always. When you work with the Navy, and he will actually concur with this, you were considered operational. Unlike the Australian Army infantry, you're not operational when you're down at flood support. You're not operational when you at High Range or Tully or Tyndall, or down at Pucker or the School of Infantry. You're working bloody hard, but you're not operational. Navy are considered operational whenever they're on their ship. Seagoing allowance, they're on the ship, because when something goes wrong, it's no different in war as what it is if it goes wrong in peace. One of the coolest things I'd ever done, not the ship to shore that you do through Amtrak's, etc. It made me vomit like a bloody child on a Gravitron after eating 4 bloody Pluto pups, was the confusion of when you got on those submersible ships, which the sink decks, whatever you want to call them, where they open the ship and allow the water to flow into it. That normally to me means the boat's going to effing sink. But no, they drop you in there, so you've got some British people that don't like to shower, have to go in there and swim to get whatever scurvy-ridden dead skin off them. as part of a health thing. But they have guys out there with bolt action rifles to shoot sharks. You get to see what the girls look like outside their uniform. They get to see what you look like outside your uniform. That's why you should always do more push-ups on a ship. But you can also do jumping off the ship into the ocean. Fantastic. That's what it's about. Absolutely awesome. The Navy, they've all got a role to do. Their officers eat before the men. I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me. In the Army, the officers eat last, so do the senior NCOs. We let our soldiers eat first. King Neptune, love it. Fire on the ship, everyone dies. Yep. If you don't do your job. If you want to watch, if you want a Navy veteran, if you want to see something absolutely amazing, listen to Dan Carlin from Hardcore History when he does an hour-long video on the Indianapolis when that goes down. There's also a movie about that called Mission of the Shark, where it sunk. It had components. It was a secret mission, had components for the bombs that were going to be dropped as nuclear bombs, etc., atomic bombs, and it got sunk just after midnight. And I think about 400 or 500 people got killed by sharks in the water. It's absolutely catastrophic. It is an audio PTSD exposure. Well, guys, let's get out of here. Joshy Fawns, good to have you here, mate. I was looking for you before, I didn't see you. I'm sorry for the late one. That's all right, mate. Have some burger rings, sit down, take it easy. I'm going to go up and see Ma and Pa tomorrow. I'm stoked for that. Thank you for coming with almost no notice tonight. Mr. Buckaroony, great to have a YouTuber here. Lauren, also a YouTuber. We've got another one here. Where's his name? I've talked him into getting fish tanks so he can get freshwater prawns. And he's going to make a channel about that. So we might look about supporting him in that if we can, to give him a hand. Medicine Man. Damn, I'm late. Not too late to see what's going to happen to Will Smith. I reckon Chris Rock's bloody manager and lawyer are going to have a talk together and say, Will Smith, we've got a figure here, and that Chris Rock should buy a boat and call it the Essence of Jada 2, alias G.I. Jane 2, and then I'd sail that ship around where she could see it and I'd put it on Instagram. Last gentleman here, thank you very much, Mr. Kaz. Appreciate information from Myanmar, a civil country for a long time. Thank you. Left-handed salute. We don't do that in Australia, but I'll throw it out to you because you're special, mate. We love people of every culture, but there's also dickheads in every culture. You're not one of them. I am sometimes from my culture. But you're very welcome here, mate. We absolutely appreciate seeing people that come in here, do investigation into Australian channels, any channel, to see where their opinions and where their knowledge goes up against others. I know I'm wrong at least 37% of the time, but when I am right, I am 100% right in my mind. But I'm willing to change that mind when you come up with something bigger, better. Thank you for your code of conduct here, team. I hope you have a great weekend. In summary, if you're going to go OSB, it's all about who you are, what you are, being ready. If you need that OSB, get on Patreon now. The link is in the description below. If you're going to join up as a soldier, I would say pump the brake, do it right. Now, watch my videos on the U-Section Assessment Session and the PFA, and remember, it doesn't matter when I was in the Army, because wisdom of being the soldier goes all the way back to the first Army, which would arguably was better than what we are these days. Okay. However, saying that, I don't want to die with blood in between my toes in sandals. So guys and gals, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you soon, and I'm looking forward to getting in the van, going up north, and getting ready for school holidays. Not with lollies in my van, you weirdos. Brady, good to have you here. Ethan Hawke, great to have you here, sir. That guy, cheers, brother, from Dave from Canberra. There we go. That guy. mate, almost Anzac Day, big time for you. See you later. See you later. Take it easy. I hope you piss the bed. And if you had the choice to be a millionaire and you get the money tomorrow, you've got to sign the contract, but it means you're going to have an itchy back for the rest of your life. Would you do it? Something to ponder. Okay. Or win lotto once a year, but your wife starts to look like Hillary Clinton, the way she looks now, from 18 when you meet her. Take it easy. See ya. Life's just straight.